Dublin San Ramon Services District Board of Directors. Presiding this evening is President Benson.
Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to take a few minutes to give us a moment of silence. Unfortunately, we've had another serious issue here in the United States with the tornadoes. Our hearts and prayers go out to all those in Warwick, Oklahoma. And so at this time, I'd like a moment of silence in respect and honor for all those in that terrible area at this time. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to turn over my speaking part to Vice President Von Heater Leopold. So you guys are spared.
Okay, Nancy, proceed with the roll call.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Any public comment? Not to have any comment? Okay, we'll move on to item 6, reports.
This is Vice President Von Heater Leopold, members of the board, President Benson. Just have a couple of quick things for you. First of all, on July 2nd, which would be a normal, regular board meeting, there is a dearth of business on that day, and particularly since it's the week of the holiday, we're going to recommend that there not be a board meeting that week. We don't anticipate anything coming up that would be critical enough to have that meeting. What's a little unknown is when the second meeting would be in July. We're hoping it can be on July 16th, but we may need to adjust that. So if you just be a little flexible with us for a few more weeks on that, that would be great. I think it's safe to say you can cross off July 7th off the board meeting calendar. Secondly, the board calendar, which is on page 3 of the agenda, we identified upcoming committee and board meetings, has a slight error on it. You can schedule us off of that. It shows the DSRSD Zone 7 Livermore Pleasanton liaison meeting for tomorrow. That's correct. It shows that 5 o'clock. The actual meeting time is at 4 o'clock, which is correct as shown on the agenda for that meeting. And I understand that Board Member Duarte will be attending that in Mr. Elkins' stead. And last thing I would note is that we don't have any correspondence to it from the board since our last meeting.
Okay, thank you. Committee reports. The minutes that are attached or that are available are listed here. Any member wants to add anything? Okay, agenda management. Anything we need to change? Item 7, approval of the minutes of May 7th.
I have a question. On page 4 of the minutes, I'd like to add the fact that I did ask staff to let other agencies know about mailings. Those agencies that are within our sphere of influence, or within our sphere, because as we send our home serve information out, they just need to be aware that if their agency's not part of that, they may get calls at their call centers. So I'd like to amend with that change.
Did you get that? Okay. Okay, any other additions or corrections or changes? I'll entertain a motion.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded that the minutes of the May 7th meeting be approved as amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
That wasn't good.
Okay. 4 ayes and 1 abstention. Motion passed. Item 8, consent calendar.
I'd like to remove item C.
Okay.
So I'll move for approval of items 8A, B, and D.
Second?
I'll second that.
moved and seconded that we approve items A, B, and D of the consent calendar. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Deloyer?
Yes, I have a few questions on the purchase order to Ferguson Waterworks. Reading the report, the staff report, I found it interesting that in this economy, the supplier would hesitate with you about accepting an order for $200,000. I'm just curious on the background of that.
Director Duarte, I'd like to have Vicki Goldman, our customer service supervisor, who, when she was scoping out the AMI project, realized that we had this issue with the meters, these 4,900 meters, and she's done extensive work evaluating all the various options, and she'll speak directly to your question.
Good evening. I don't want to speak for the Ulster organization. I can only state that they are getting out of the manufacturing business for small meters, these 1.5 inch meters. They will continue the manufacturing on larger size meters where there's more profit margin, but they are shutting down the manufacturing plant, scheduled for shutdown at the end of June.
So does that mean that with any type of repairs or replacement parts or anything dealing with these units that we're buying, what are we going to do then?
They're actually the only manufacturing that they wanted to do before they finally agreed to do what we were asking them to do was to produce enough material to be in their warehouse to support warranties that they have for outstanding sales before we pay. The equipment that we have in the ground is very close to being out of warranty. So those wouldn't be covered anyway.
What is their typical warranty?
I couldn't tell you. I've never purchased an Ulster meter. We've been a census shop the entire time I've been here. The warranties on our census 5/8 meters used to be 10 years. I believe it's been moved to 15 years. These are about 10 years old right now, but we haven't done business with Ulster since I've been here.
And the unit price, I assume there was...
Unit price is less than half of the cost of a meter. A register is always going to be more cost effective if you can replace a register. And we do that with our census meters as well. If we can maintain the pipe in the ground, we do that. And on all census meters, a lot of meters you can pull the whole guts out and replace all the moving components. These are positive displacement meters, so the register is really the only thing that we can parts that are
And this will bring our entire system out to an equal
This will
basis.
make our entire system compatible with the AMI network, and it will replace equipment that we would be trying to figure out how to get resources to replace over the next year anyway.
Yeah, that was the reason for the question. I didn't want to be limited, just when I read there that they really didn't want to fulfill the order.
Really didn't want to.
That's...
And I'm still a little nervous about that because as much as I'm trying to get this PO to them and get this manufacturing into their queue, they can pull back at any time and say, we just can't get it done. So right now they're doing it, but there's a chance that they can pull it back.
So we have to use it or lose it.
Yes, we do.
Do we have a fallback position?
They're really not attractive options. They're twice the cost and a lot of customer impact. That's what I'm really trying to avoid, fairly pricey customer impact.
I have a question. It says we're buying 4,800. The register is 4,600. And within the terms and conditions, it says estimated at 5,500 units.
Terms and conditions.
And that's on the data mailing.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at it.
On the page 1 of the quotation.
That's the Fireflies. That's the estimated number of transmitters that we have in the ground. Those mosaic transmitters that, that was the deal that we made with Ferguson. If we pull them out of the ground, there's no value to them. They will all come out of the ground. We have about 15,000 units that will be going in the trash. Have not been able to find anyone who will recycle them for us. But these 5,500 units, there is some value to Ferguson. They're trying to do the system for their other customers who's also changed, who has a data management system, who now has to change to another AMI system, and they need a Band-Aid for about 3 months. So that would give them that time to keep them up and running while they go through the RFP process and choose an AMI system. And then they're probably get rid of them. I don't know.
How many customers did Ferguson have with this setup?
How many customers does Ferguson have on the Datamatic system? I couldn't tell you that. I personally know they've spoken to me about 3 or 4 times. But Ferguson Waterworks is one of the largest plumbing supply companies in the country, and they also had the exclusive rights to sell Datamatic product. So they severed that relationship. They were our representative, and all the time I've been here dealing with Datamatic, they really helped us through a lot of our times with Datamatic. They're now actually looking for a new organization to support the meantime they're trying to keep their current Datamatic customers afloat while they figure out what they're going to do to this particular customer to be separate.
Okay, any further questions?
I'm satisfied.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve item 8C, the consent calendar. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, item 9, board business, review operating budget for fiscal years ending 2014 and 15.
Vice President Leopold. Oh, brother, I'm sorry.
One of them is right. Don't worry about it.
Hopefully it'll get better from this point on. Thank you. We're going to present to you tonight the 2-year operating budgets for fiscal years 2014 and 2015. Presenting tonight will be Mr. John Archer, our financial services supervisor. He and his staff really carried the load this time around on the operating budget, preparing it, coordinating it while I was on leave. So I'm going to let John take the reins here.
Thank you, board members. First comment after several budgets with uncertainty and a lot of challenges, I think we're going to present to you tonight a budget which on balance is reflective of a very solid district going forward. So there's some changes, and at this point we're going to kind of take you through on a pretty high level. You have in front of you in the packets that you received detailed explanations of the assumptions as well as line item details of every item proposed. We can get to that maybe at the end. Okay, press the right button. There we go. So, first comment is this budget was prepared, everybody kind of gets a hand in it. So all the supervisors, the managers actually present the detail, it gets rolled up, the senior managers review it, and then the general manager reviews it before it goes to the finance committee. So everyone has really had input into this budget. It really is built up and ground up. Tonight you're hearing a preliminary review, and there'll be a public hearing at the next meeting on June 4th for adoption of the budget, if you so move forward with that. I haven't looked at it, remember what I showed you, but so on the different funds, we've got the water rates that you considered recently. Those have been included, all effective July 1. The TIC in this budget is proposed also eliminated from July 1. So those are the major changes on rates for the water fund. The regional fund, the only major changes other than new accounts that will connect are cost consumer price index adjustments annually, 2.45% for this year, and then anticipated at 2% next year. The local sewer has no CPI increases left on its rate, so that rate is flat for the next 2 years of the budget. And then for the connection fees or capacity reserve fees, they're increased by the ENR index over the next 2 years. I think later slide I had what that. I think the increase for this year was virtually nothing, and it was 2%. I think for 2.2 for the following year. So they're a little different, but they're all kind of close and low. As we said, the budgets did look a lot better this year, so the general manager gave authorization to maybe add back some things that had been adjusted during the times of difficulty and economic instability. Two of the bigger items in here, as you have a detailed list within your staff report, but there's $180,000 in each of the next 2 years for pipeline inspections. $110,000 is in the local sewer fund, and $70,000 on the water line. That's in support of the strategic initiatives that the general manager will go over with you later, but to really do further investigation to the asset management program on the local collection system, some of the older pipes in the district and in the water system. The $200,000 for subsurface repair is to hire outside contractors once again to do the complete work. They were already doing some of that work. And correct me if I'm wrong, but they were doing about $200,000 worth after hours work. This will allow the staff that were doing this work to go back and do some of the work that they were not doing while they were doing some service.
Yeah, we've actually, this budget includes the same amount we used to budget for having underground repairs done by an outside contractor before we took that on in 2009. So we've simply put that money, same budget, back into this future year budget. One difference, though, is going forward, our plan is to keep our underground crew together, and we'll be doing some small projects each month. That'll keep their skills up. We have all the equipment available. That way, if we ever do have an emergency like an earthquake and we need all hands on deck, we'll have an underground crew of our own that we can field if we need to. So that the bulk of the work from here going forward will be done by outside contractors for underground repairs.
So those are the two largest items. Your staff report has other items. Personnel costs, the budget estimate for salaries was to increase by CPI. We estimated that at 3%. This year we really don't know where that is. I think the general managers came in, which is set in an interim. That was a 2% number, so the numbers so far the year have been in that range, but if you read all the forecasts, they're all over the place, give or take another point. Some of the trends have been for continued larger increases for the healthcare benefits. The numbers you see up on the board, the retirement, the PERS, and the OPEB, those are shown as a percentage of salary dollars. So 15.7 and 16.6 for PERS, and the OPEB at 9%. The numbers down below for medical are percentage increases over the premiums is where they are. It's a little over 10%. Of course, these are budget estimates based on information, the best information we have right now. There are 4 new positions budgeted over the 2 years. It's a little light on the side of the first column is 2014, the impact in the budget, and then 2015. In 2014, there is a safety officer, which is a reinstatement of a position that was previously in the budget several years back. and that starts effective, or is proposed, October 1. The next position is Operations Control Specialist in Operations, and that is proposed to start January of 2014. An Assistant Engineer to work Dave's direction here in Engineering Department, but also starting January of 14. The last position, IT Analyst, is anticipated to start the next fiscal year on July 1, 2014. And these are the costs, including the benefits, so the full bore impact on the budget for those four positions. Your budget in front of you also has certain capital spending. The CIP program, you've already approved the 10-year CIP, and on June 4th, you'll get the 2-year spending with the fund limits. The budget and the fund balances that you have in front of you have the 2-year fund limits that will be presented to you on June 4th. They've been all developed by the engineering department. Also in that budget, it's not doubled up, but there are capital outlay. Those are one-time expenditures greater than $10,000 that will be requested by the various divisions. They've been vetted through engineering and work with in the same approval process that we take all the other items. So one is the capital items, which Dave's group manages larger projects. The capital outlay are those one-time items. I think the two big items on there are replacement vehicles, jetter, and the other was a combo truck, some type of operations, one of which is very old.
Combination vacuum engine or truck, yes.
Some of the fund highlights, and we get into it, the Regional Enterprise Fund. The comment here is that it's not in compliance with the internal debt service coverage requirements. When we did the water rates, you remember you adopted a new policy that the rates themselves should be able to provide the minimum coverage requirement for the debt without consideration of any capacity fees. It wasn't really contemplated when we set the old rates for the regional fund, so they come short of that board policy. You'll see when we go into another chart that it meets the coverage requirements of the debt itself, and it meets the coverage requirements when you include the capacity fees. But the rate itself, taken alone, would not meet the policy requirement. Clear? We had a long discussion in the committee about that also. The local replacement fund, which is money set aside for potential replacement projects in the future, is in excess of the maximum target. The number's at 9 million, that max target is about 7. That one, local operations fund, so the day-to-day operations, that fund is using rate stabilization funds to balance out its operating at a deficit. But that fund also, if you remember, I just said that does not have any rate increase in it right now. The rate increase is scheduled in the strategic plan. But it also fully funds the replacement fund until we finish doing some of the testing of the water lines, which you've already seen, or the sewer lines, sorry, get through with that evaluation. And it also has the spending for that evaluation of the sewer lines. The water rate stabilization fund is below the target lines in fiscal year 14, but fiscal year 15 is fine. So taking both years together, it's okay. And the last one, the water replacement fund, you'll remember that is the fund that it set most of the funding for Central Dublin, so that is showing it's below the targets for 2014 and 15. However, the trend is very positive, in those two, and the shortfall decreases in both years. So this is a chart that we put together just to kind of show, this is the debt coverage. The funds on the first two columns, you have regional, which has debt in it, and water. Comment I was making, revenue only coverage for the regional is 0.77. The target is 1.1, which is the debt requirement. When you get down and see the rate revenue plus the capacity reserve fees, it's 3.8, so it's well above the target. But again, that was an internal policy matter. The same thing in 2015. The water fund, obviously with the rates you've adopted, do meet the coverage requirements.
John, if I could just interject, we're going to be recommending an adjustment to the policy. The regional debt has an extremely unique coverage calculation in the bond covenants. And it actually is, when you have money in your expansion fund, it's very, very beneficial for us. So we didn't really address that in the policy, that is somewhat unique from probably any other debt district will ever have. And we feel that we need to address it in the policy. We're bringing it to your attention. None of us believe it's a concern to be addressed through the budget process, that it's really just something that needs to be addressed in a revision of the policy.
And this next chart, I know it's a lot of numbers if you're not an accountant, but we found it was easier to help us review where we were. And these are just the areas, the negatives are the ones that I've already spoken about that are under target. You can see the numbers, so local sewer, the rate stabilization number is negative and gets larger in the second year as we're using rate stabilization funds to meet the shortfall there until the next rate study is done. The rate stabilization in water is also slightly under the target of 4, but you can see in 2015 it's back above the target. And then for the replacement fund in water, again, the comment I made that it's under the target, 3.2 million under target. It still has a healthy reserve in it, but that shortfall also decreases in 2015. I think overall, when you look at some of the balances in there, you'll see that the funds are in very good shape now and going forward. There are some known changes for the June 6th board meeting. One is the proposal before you for handling some TIC and repayment of that. We're going in further with that, but that's one adjustment that we put through in the final numbers. They are not in here as we try to turn this from committee for your consideration tonight. And as I mentioned, you have more details in the staff report and the other details that you have in front of you. Any questions you have at this point, I want to publicly thank my staff as well as the engineering staff who helped immensely in pulling this off. I'm sorry, that was intended to be a flyover. I might ask Bert if he had any other comments.
No, John, thank you very much, and thanks to staff that are here for putting the budget together. You know, from my perspective, this is the best budget picture the district has been able to present to the board for about 5 or 6 years now, going through the recession. I'm very pleased that the entire organization, everybody that's put this together, has had the sort of discipline to stay the course for those 5 or 6 years to get us around that corner that everybody faced to the point where we can present a budget like this to you. There are a few places that John pointed out where the budget doesn't quite comply with policy targets, but keep in mind those are targets and we're heading in the right direction to improving on those targets. We're just not quite there in a couple of cases. But I'm very pleased overall with the budget, from the high level, and I'm certainly prepared to on June 6th to recommend your approval, recognizing that there's a lot of detail here that you might also have concern about, and we're prepared to go over any of that material as well with you tonight.
economy about the TIC, Mr. Hellcat?
Yeah, I was thought to be more in this report about it. So essentially,
If you want some, they're in the finance committee notes, which.
Yeah, look at the finance committee.
yeah,
Rich, would you like me to field the question?
we can start. I can fill my own questions, but you can go for it. At least lay the groundwork for you.
All right, so the proposal that you'll see on in June with the budget adoption is for a partial repayment of the TIC in the amount of approximately $1.8 million. That proposal is to use water expansion money to pay off the water fund's OPEB liability. When we set up the OPEB trust a number of years ago, all the funds were able to fully fund their liability for those costs at that time, except for the water fund, it had a pretty large shortage. We've been amortizing that each year by using half of whatever property taxes we receive to reduce that water fund liability. So the proposal is essentially, that's a water customer water rate obligation, the water fund's OPEB liability. And the TIC is a loan from the developers to the ratepayers, essentially. So we would be proposing to take the money from Water Expansion Fund and use that money to pay off that water fund share. Now, that has a lot of really good advantages for the district. First of all, it bumps up your trust balances by $1.8 million, which should have a positive impact on the going forward rate that we are having to collect through rates. The next study is being done in August for June 30th. So we'll know what those numbers are later this year. The board has established in the work plan an item to fully fund some of those liabilities, so that takes you a step closer to that as well. It also allows all of the property tax money to stay in the water rate stabilization fund to help address some of those balances John pointed out to you earlier. So,
And that property tax money, if I remember right, is currently being used to fund the low-income assistance program, so it frees up more funds for that. And positive net cash flow for the year is going about $275,000-ish.
for the property taxes that would remain in the
No,
fund.
for not having to get the payments. Somewhere in that range.
I'm sorry, I can't recall. It's a tough one.
I mean, the way to think of it is essentially using, I'm going to use layman's terms, using developer money to pay a ratepayer obligation, which is, from the county perspective, a completely legitimate way to pay the ratepayers back. Because that obligation exists, and it will continue to exist, and it would have to be baked into the next round of rates. So, at first I looked a little askance at it, and I thought about it a lot, and we talked about it in committee for quite a while, and it seemed like a very sound proposal. We're not quite prepared. We're balancing, at least the proposal we're going to give you guys, we're balancing just going all in versus wanting to keep enough expansion money in the expansion pot to make sure we have debt coverage and handling the obligations that the expansion pot has. So it's a bit of a balancing act. So 1.8 seemed to be a reasonable amount to do in this transaction. We didn't want to set up anything formulaic where kind of like the 5X max thing we have for on the sewer side, where you can get yourself in the real bind and create a situation where you're thinking you're doing good, but you're actually doing yourself harm. So we want to look at each transaction case by case.
And we'll include the complete Finance Committee staff report in the budget materials for the June meeting. As John said, we just didn't have an opportunity between last week's Finance Committee to revise for that. But we did want to mention it. We don't want to surprise you when we bring the budget back. And the proposal will be simply to approve that transfer and actually make the transfer prior to the end of this fiscal year. And what that will do is make sure that we have more money in that trust fund, so when the actuary does the next study, those balances will be available to help hopefully temper any increase or maybe reduce the rate that we're having to pay.
And we're throwing out acronyms, and for the
the audience, and I'm sure you agree on that, but the OPEB trust is a decision this district chose. Most governments, local, county, whatever, in California fund their retiree health care on a pay-as-you-go basis. So it's built in every budget, and it's starting to actually explode some budgets around the state. We set aside money into a trust fund, so we're pre-funding that obligation, we're funding it as we go. So we're not going to leave any gifts to keep on giving for future boards to wrestle with. When we did that, water was short. Water's historically always a fund, so we'll have to work through. And so, yeah, this is a good thing for the ratepayers.
Yeah, I would think most of most of our expansion monies go to stuff. I mean, building projects and that sort of thing. Most of our payroll for operations and most of our payroll, I think, goes to salaries. I mean, most of our salary money goes to operations and not buying stuff. We probably have some expansion funds, money being spent for like salaries for approving plans, that sort of thing. The bulk of it.
The other point on that is that when we did the water capacity fee study, we anticipated this loan, the TIC loan, and that was included in the capacity fee charge. So in fact, a portion of every capacity fee we get is actually intended for the loan repayment and not for a capital project. So we're not, I don't want anyone to think we're diverting money from capital projects in order to do this. This is money that's collected for the loan from the ratepayers to the developers.
And Mr. Glover from the Home Builders Association was certainly pleased to have that conversation with us. That was quite a negotiation.
Okay, any other questions?
I'd just like to, at least from a board member perspective, traditionally running any fund at a deficit, you get serious per capita. I just wanted to say a couple of words about local. Local's kind of a funny beast. We actually have local and regional basically because of our relationship with Pleasanton. We have to keep the two buckets separate. So local's just the collection system, and it's very stable. It's never been a problem child. It's got one of the larger fund balances for replacement, so there's plenty of money on the local side. Its replacement balance is like $9.2 million or something like that. So running that at a deficit, operational deficit for a year or two while we do the next rate study, I'm comfortable with. We're using the rate stabilization fund for exactly what it's designed for. It's to keep us from having to do crazy whipsaw things when we're from timing. You haven't been through one yet. Wastewater rate studies will make what you kind of went through the tail end of the water rate study seem simple. We have a partner of equal size that we have to basically negotiate everything with. So we're projecting a 2-year deficit. I kind of think that may end up being reality. It may take a good 18, 20 months to haggle sewer rates. Plenty of money in the fund. Replacement's fully funded. So I just wanted to make sure that was highlighted, and at least I'm comfortable with it.
Could I pile on to one comment you made? One of the reasons for the deficit, but a net loss in that fund is something John mentioned, which are one-time expenditures, or really two-time expenditures, one in fiscal year 14, one in fiscal year 15, for the condition assessment for the collection system, $110,000 he mentioned for local. Those are not anticipated to be ongoing expenses in years following. So, it's not like we're building an expense into the budget that we're going to have to continue to fund. Those are specifically identified as one-time
At 2 times. And the contracts line item. In the contracts line item.
The
Contracts, there's line item for contracts that's a bit large, and that's why.
Yeah, no, that's where that expenditure is in that contract. So if you take those one-time expenditures away, you'll see those funds are actually operating very close to break even.
Thank you.
And those expenditures set us up
For asset management, better setting their rates. So I think there's certainly we need to
generous estimate.
And then remember, the holy grail of asset management is to actually have real data to set our replacement targets. So we're not using a formula that may be grossly over or underfunding, so that's my goal, Scott.
Well, recognizing that I'm the new kid on the block, Lori and Bert were kind enough to give me a crash course yesterday. To say that it's daunting, to say the least, it's a daunting experience. On the OPEB, 1.8 million, that will take care of that 100. That will eliminate that unfunded liability.
It will.
That carry. So then now what happens from this point forward for OPEB costs or set aside?
Good question. The way that any actuarial study works is it's a snapshot at a point in time. And so depending on a lot of things, they actually look at every single retiree, every single employee. What is their gender? What is their age? They do all of those projections out for how long they think people will be entitled to benefits. They look at if you've had any benefit changes. They look at the investment returns and the amount of cash you have in that fund. So there are so many moving parts every time these actuarial studies are done. It's very difficult to project what might come out of it. But it will be better than it would be without the transfer. So essentially, that's a long prelude to saying, hopefully, at this point, we will be funded for all of our past liability, and then it will just be simply future liability going forward that we'll have to charge the customers for. How that mechanically works is that we apply that as a percentage of the payroll, so it's allocated to all the departments, and we move the money in and put it in the trust fund. So hopefully the percentage that we estimated in the budget will actually be lower once they do the actuarial study because of this. But it's hard to say it's simply because of that.
If I could say the same thing Lori says in my words, we've talked about, you've read a lot about PERS obligations and agencies underfunded PERS and everything. There's a parallel thing that goes on with the other post-employment benefits other than retirement. That's what we call OPEB. With this change, the actuarial is going to tell us, because that changes every time, but we think there's a good chance that we are going to be essentially 100% funded for our past obligations for our OPEB after this happens. Again, subject to what the actuarial looks at. And if we're not 100% funded, we should be pretty darn close to 100% funded. Of course, we need to maintain that discipline going forward. Once you get there, you can backslide. You have to maintain the discipline going forward. I think we're going to be one of the few agencies I can think of that have satisfied 100% of our OPEB obligations at this point. Some of these other numbers for these other agencies are staggering for their OPEB obligations. We're going to be 100% funded.
Great.
That in itself was really good information, Sue. Okay, no further questions.
I don't know if this is the time to talk about it. In this budget preparation, you have these 5 positions. There's money in the budget to cover that. But authorization of hiring those five positions, or opening those 5 positions, is that done?
Yes, once the budget is approved, that gives staff authorization to hire those positions. You've established a budgetary spending authority.
John, if I could ask, that with regard to the safety officer, and I see that it's a reinstatement of a position that was formerly terminated.
Yes.
Do we feel that we need a safety officer because other districts have it, or do we need one to implement a safety culture that I think should already be out there? Are we paying a premium because our EMR on our workers' comp is high due to a lot of claims, or?
I'm going to let Bert and Mary.
I'm going to let Mary.
They're going to talk that in light.
Mary's been the thought leader in this particular position.
Good evening, Director Doherty. Yes, they've all heard me talking about this for a long time. We had a safety officer up until 2009, and at that time, because of the economic situation, I made the decision and recommendation not to fill the safety officer position. Safety is under me. I wanted to try, trying to save money. We've been using a consultant to try to help us out with some of the expertise that is needed. We do have a safety technician. She's very competent, and she does training and she orders supplies and all of that. But she doesn't have the expertise that is required day-to-day to work with our supervisors down in operations, to sit in on construction meetings, to update our programs, to be in compliance. In the last couple of years, we did have 2 serious incidents that OSHA came in and did inspection. My personal belief is we only got by on those, and in large part we got by on those inspections because of the past work of the safety officer at that time. There are some situations we are not in compliance, and as a business sometimes you operate not 100% in compliance 100% of the time, but we are really running where we do need a safety officer on site. Having a safety consultant available by phone, his name is Dave Patzer, he's with CSRMA, very qualified individual. He does serve as a safety consultant for a number of agencies, but he's not always, he can't be, when you need him, he's not always available on the phone, and he can't always answer the questions that are being posed to him by Dan's staff, because he needs to kind of see the situation that Dan's folks are being exposed to. Dave is here tonight, sorry. Dave's here, we have engineers. They are facing and having to do a lot of construction type programs, and the folks are screaming for a safety officer, and we've been listening to that now for 2 years, and it is my recommendation tonight, the board, please authorize a safety officer. We need it because I am afraid that somebody is going to get hurt.
I'd like to add, I think a number of you know I sit on CSRMA's executive board. CSRMA is our insurance carrier for both liability and workers' comp. And as part of our program at CSRMA, we look at all our member agencies and look at safety program and their liability program in terms of risk management. CSRMA has not looked at DSRSD's program for a couple of years. Knowing how they've looked at other programs and when they're going to look at us without a safety officer, that is not going to be viewed very favorably at all by our insurance provider, which has a potential to lead to higher rates.
Safety officer report where would be the...
Well, under our current organization, it reports to Mary as the organizational services manager. I think it's public knowledge that Mary will be retiring shortly. We're examining a number of organizational issues, so exactly who that position would report to has not been decided at this point in time. It could perhaps be an interim person filling Mary's position, or it could be one of the other department managers via our organization.
But the key is to separate, if this position is filled, is to separate that. That position has to report outside of the industrial hierarchy of our position. Safety officer, reporting within the same people who are, getting hurt.
That is certainly good advice.
And how many industrial workers do we have? I mean, how many people would you categorize?
It's basically
operational
I'd say
ties.
basically Dan's department plus maybe some of
Say about
Dave's
72.
field folks. Yeah,
It's about 72 FTE.
72 here in 10.
Any other questions about the safety officer?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know how to phrase this. Coming from the private sector and coming from the construction industry, I was astounded at salary. And for that kind of a salary, I would expect this person would have a degree in safety engineering at the very least, and maybe 15 to 20 years experience. I know of 2 companies within 10 miles of here that have over 150 employees, and they're paying their people around $70,000 a year. I'm talking salary only. I'm not quibbling about the benefits, because our benefits are excellent. They're above and beyond. But I'm talking about the salary. It's really hard for me, and you're going to hear this from me from the next 3.5 years, to justify paying a $170,000 compensation package for a position that, while it may be warranted and it may be looked on favorably by CSRMA, I don't know how we're ever going to cut expenses if we're paying twice the loan rate. These people are the 2 companies I'm talking about, and believe me, and one of these guys is doing more than the safety officer. They're working for $75,000 a year. I'm not saying that we should be chinsing on salary, but we cannot continue to compare us to 17 districts and say that this is what our counterparts are paying and this is what we're going to pay. I don't dispute the fact that a safety officer may be required. I really have a problem with that kind of money for what I know. I know what the job description covers. I know exactly what it covers. I don't even have to look at it. And we only have about 55 employees that are actually out in the field. I would like to think that our folks here in the district office are safety conscious to start with. But it's the mechanics and the field hands and the operators. You know, our workers' comp and our company, our insurer, they bring pamphlets. They provide all of the agendas for the tailgate meetings. They will have the host seminars for us at no additional cost. You know, I don't know. Are we paying a higher rate than? Is our EMR over 1?
You're talking about our XMOD? Our XMOD is actually, has been quite low. However, just information from CSRMA that we received in the last couple of weeks is now trending upwards, but we're about at 0.81 right now.
That's a very good rate.
It is a good rate.
That's an excellent rate. So that tells me that the safety programs you have had in place in your 2 years are having some effect and working.
Well, if I could respectfully comment that 0.81 is good, but really we are trending upwards. We've had a very good safety record. It's now going up, I think, in some respect because the last 2 years the staff has not been able to address all the safety issues that are before it. We do have like 4 sites with the district. We've got field operations, we have the district office, we have the treatment plant, we have the maintenance building. In the private sector, it's very common for a lot of supervisors to take on a lot of the safety responsibilities. We have been trying to move the culture that way for the supervisors to take on more of the safety training. But that is still a work in progress, and they haven't been trained in that. I mean, we do give them training, don't get me wrong, but they're not experts on safety necessarily in their field, and they're very busy. And so for small agencies, generally, you have a centralized safety function. That's what the district has right now. Director Duarte, I understand your concerns about the salaries. I will say we have MOUs in place. Certainly that's an issue that the district probably will be looking at in the next few years and in the next go around. But if I could, setting aside the salaries, I know that's really where your interest is, I'm here tonight to ask the board to please approve a safety officer position, the FTE, for the district going forward, because I really do believe it's needed.
Last question. So the MOU that covers this position already defines the responsibility and salary structure for a safety officer?
Well, the MOUs have we do have a safety officer position, and the salary is already set. In terms of which agencies we're going to compare against, that is in each of the MOUs. So that is something that's negotiated. And so if you were to, not impossible, but it'd be difficult to go out and change the salary of that position today. We'd have to go out, under the MOU, we'd have to go out and survey the agencies that are listed in the MOU as to what they're paying.
And it would not be a formula, we would have, that's the starting point for the data, then it becomes a negotiation with the union, in which you have to reach an agreement with the bargaining unit. In this case, I think it's a professional position.
It's a
professional position regarding this position. If not, then there's various impasse procedures up to the state level. The possible workaround on that is to create a different classification, something other than what we would call a safety officer. Then you could be a starting point of, but you'd still go through the process of finding comparables to that new position. And until our last agreements, until our labor agreements run their course, which is 3.5 years from now, in those labor agreements, that would be the venue to have the discussion with the unions about the process for setting the salaries, how many comps we run, whether the comps are set at median, at some percentile from median, wherever. That's the venue for that discussion.
Is there any such thing as a safety officer one, safety officer two, or anything like that?
Well, I haven't seen a safety officer 1 or 2. You can have safety specialists. Some places have. A safety officer really is.
Title unto itself.
It is, and because that person literally can stop construction activities, call a halt under the law, that work is going to cease because of some safety violation. So the officer does connotate certain responsibilities, legal responsibilities.
As is defined in a Talos or something like that.
Someplace.
But again, having the authority to put a stop to operations is only referring to the
Safety.
DSRSD employees' operations.
That's correct.
Not a contractor's.
Right, we would not want to do that.
Because that liability remains with them. I just want to be clear that I'm not against the safety position. It's just that I know this job description because we have one in our company. And you're double the private sector. You shouldn't be double.
These are burden rates. What's the actual salary on this rate?
Well, this is the projected salary in 2015, which has been escalated by the CPI estimates.
Yeah, but is this loaded or unloaded?
This is loaded.
I'm going to give you the salary, but again, this is the estimated 2015 salary, is $111,628.
That's just the salary.
Plus the
Let
65,000.
me clarify. The numbers you see on the PowerPoint up there, those are fully loaded.
Those are burden numbers.
They're burden numbers. The reason 214 is lower than 215 by that significant amount is it's prorated for only 3/4 of a year. They're projecting a safety officer to come on board on October 1st. But those numbers are fully burdened.
Right, so yeah, that's what so I wanted to know the underlying salary.
Right.
Divide that by about 1.4 or 1.5. Per year. So
Just
what's
left on that.
Which is pretty spendy for a safety officer. We're not going to be able to have one yet, but I've got 18 manufacturing employees. So we spare the safety function for myself and the shop manager.
Right.
And we have a very good rate, it's like breakfast says we're healthy. Unfortunately, it sounds like we're stuck, so I'm surprised the safety officer position is defined in the MOU when we didn't have a safety officer when we're negotiating.
We did have a safety officer classification that existed. We chose not to fill that position when the individual retired. So
And
the
because
position-
that position is listed in a current MOU,
It's covered.
we have to abide by those rates.
And that's true for all of the positions positions listed.
Every
All
one of
four,
them.
the 4 positions that are listed are all
Because all of our
existing and
positions are
existing.
in one of the MOUs, basically, except for the senior managers.
We're not proposing a new position of bricklayer, for example.
Well, Ed's concerns are valid. What are our options?
Because is there training out there that we do? I mean, do we hire a company to train on safety? Because I just went to a construction management class, and we addressed the whole safety issues as well. And a lot of the insurance companies will provide training. They will provide
We do,
materials.
we do contract with CSR, we are part of CSRMA. CSRMA does offer us training, and we do participate in it. We also contract by a separate contract with a safety consultant. This is David Patzer. He comes in, and under my contract, he provides a certain amount of training. We have really, the last few years, done a lot of joint partnership training with agencies, other CSRMA agencies, as well as, with Livermore, Pleasanton, and all that. But some of the training has to be done on site, like forklift training. We have fall protection. If the safety technician can do the training, she does the training. Training is certainly important, and we need to provide it. It's really the questions that come up as the employees go out into the field, or the supervisors getting ready to work with the employees. We're kind of doing a job hazard analysis right now. They have to look at every single task and figure out what kind of personal protective equipment is needed. They have to do the training. They have to, there's reporting that has to happen. It is beyond what the safety technician can do. It is, a lot of times I almost need to turn this over to Dan Gallagher. His folks are the ones calling my staff and me, saying, we need somebody out here to answer this question. We've got this situation going on. They'll try contacting the safety consultant, or asking me or Michelle. We don't have the answers. There is a lot of responsibilities on supervisors under Cal OSHA to do all sorts. Just a program on everything, and we just don't have the resources to do it all. So I guess one of the options for the agency is just understand that that's the risk, that you won't be necessarily in compliance, or you risk a serious injury. But we've been going this way for 3 years, and it's been operating the best it can, reasonably well. But I worry about this agency. I understand about the salaries, and I understand about the salaries. I
understand your concerns, Mary, and as I said, I'll say it again, I'm not disputing the fact that the position, but this is just a small example of, I'm very concerned with the public's perception of us. And I can tell you that the contractors out there are gonna just look at that and they're gonna shake their heads and say, how in the world can they afford that? Because if the guys are going out there and they're leaving the shop to go out to get on the backhoe or get on any kind of a machine or drive a truck, I'm sorry, but they should know exactly what the safety rules are and what equipment is necessary. OSHA, you can get the OSHA manual, anybody can get it. I think it's $50, and it's all there. And our supervisors should be promoting that, and evidently they have been. So I can't agree to this kind of expenditure for a position that I know is
Well, if I could perhaps address your question, Director Malkin, about where do we go from here, and I would offer that, I think, in this discussion, which is a budgetary discussion, the board basically will have on June 6th, as I see it, maybe 4 choices I'm going to toss out for you. Maybe there's another one here, but you can of course approve the budget. You can approve the budget without, when I'm saying approve the budget with this position in here, approve the budget without that position in there. You could direct staff to open up the
MOU with a professional group and try to renegotiate that salary. Of course, you can't reopen one slice of the MOU. You can reopen the MOU or not reopen the MOU. Or you can direct us to perhaps investigate a possible new job classification related to safety to see if, to see how that job classification itself restructure would result. Those last two options are certainly doable. There's some risk in reopening the MOU, as I think you could imagine. With regard to a new job classification, that delays the start date of this position. And Mary and I think the rest of the staff feels pretty critical of this system.
The only other option I would think is reducing the hours. Position. I don't know if that's practical. I don't know if you find a person who would take it.
We run into the other problem that they're not available when the people are working.
But we have people working 24/7, so.
I don't know if this person would be that type of hours, on call all the time.
Mary?
The officer on call, sorry.
Mary, what is the consultant charge per hour?
I don't have that.
Approximately.
I have a contract for $60,000 and it gives me a certain number of hours depending on the scope. I just don't have any idea of how many hours. I'll talk to the HR supervisor. I'd be happy to provide a copy to the board.
Have we used it?
Have we used it? Yes. In fact, we're running out of money.
I think one point that's really important is a lot of these functions that we're proposing to either add back the positions or establish new positions, we have been using professional services because there is a workload, and so we've used that to bridge this time during this economic downturn. But there is an excessive work backlog. Is Dan's position for the operations control system specialist. I know there's a large backlog of work and specialist consultants, but you just cannot get the work product sometimes from a consultant that you can get from a staff person. So these positions, there may be an opportunity to look in the budget again to see if there can be any services maybe a little bit carved out if those positions are approved. So you have been incurring some of those costs, I guess is what I'm saying. So I don't think any of these positions are 100% what the budget is being presented to you.
What we're here to, this is a good discussion, because that's the purpose of this. We want to have this discussion ahead of the meeting at which you're approving the budget, so you can give us direction. And that's, what we're hoping to get today is, consensus direction from the board as to what we should present to you for consideration before June. So, if you could give us that direction, that would be the thing that would be most helpful, among the options I kind of outlined or any of the options you might want. We do need that direction from you at this point.
Did you read your last two options?
Okay, now let me go through them all again. You could, and I'm talking just specifically about this when I say approve the budget, not approve the budget. I'm not talking about the whole thing. Approve the budget with the position in as recommended. Approve the budget without the position in. You could direct staff to reopen the salary discussions for this position with the professional bargaining unit. Again, you reopen the whole MOU, you don't reopen one slice of it. Or you could ask us to, you could essentially take it out of the budget and ask staff to investigate alternative ways to provide this service, whether it be through a revised class description, which we would have to negotiate, whether it be through a consultant, as one of you suggested, whether it be a part-time position or whatever. And then when that discussion is finalized, we bring it back to you for budget amendment. So, but we just need some sort of direction from you as to what to present to you on June 4th.
My first inclination is your last option. I'd be curious how the rest of the board feels.
Let's go. Pick on Dave for a minute. Pick on Dave. Not pick on Dave. the assistant engineer, where in their work like path is that person?
Well, first of all, I'd like to point out that we laid off an assistant, junior assistant engineer when we had the economic turndown. This person will primarily be dealing with the developer plan review.
I mean, are they 5-year out of college, 10-year out of college person?
Our
Are they a PhD?
hope was actually, we would like to, in this position, hire a new graduate that can have them grow up in the position. Might be a master's degree, might not be.
Assistant engineers and special administration.
Then I'm going to have to echo Director Duarte, I mean, at $103,000 a year salary, I think I do. That's 40% of what I pay my engineers that ship millions of dollars of solar combiner boxes around the nation every year. So I feel stuck because we have to stop, it's like a cycle. You comp to comps, and you have positions, and they comp to comps. But we have to do a budget, so we have to actually run this place too. And I'm not sure if we're at the spot to stop bleeding, but man, this is hard.
Well, the problem is that picking on one particular position isn't a solution because we aren't in the middle of MOU negotiations, and that's where this discussion needs to happen. You haven't been around long enough, but that's been my biggest gripe about the cost here is that there's no way to compare it to the real world. These are not real world salaries. But we continue to compare them to other agencies paying these non-real world salaries. And as long as we continue to do that, you're going to get this crazy result. But like I said, the problem is it needs to be done during the discussions with the MOUs, and we just finished that.
Well, we're halfway between the last one and the next one. But yeah, that is the time. My feeling is would be to approve budget as proposed and deal with MOUs and salaries for the time.
But I'd like to find some, safety officers is a good example. So if we're paying a consultant today to do some of this work, is that consultant backed out of the budget when this position is onboarded?
Yes.
Right, so I can look through here and find the line item where that professional services goes down.
Well, if you have fiscal year 13, you would find it line item in fiscal year 13, you would not find it in fiscal year 14.
So the net difference would be the delta,
Yes.
60 grand.
In year one. And then, these are the gifts that keep on giving.
The other thing I just strike me is, safety officer is a unique classification. We only have one safety officer. So even when you talk about that salary, the issues evolve around the hypothetical new person. You talk about an assistant engineer, that is not a single classification position. We have assistant engineers right now. The complexity of not only adjusting that salary for a new person coming in, you would also be, in effect, opening up salary discussions for existing people that are here. I think that would apply for the assistant engineer, for the operation control system specialist, and I think the IT analyst. So those positions are even more complicated.
So, we're struggling, the board is struggling because we're stuck. Likely having to approve adding headcount in places because we need the headcount at crazy salaries, which we can't even start to address for 2.5 years. Because I understand we have some very unique specialization in some of our parts. You have to comp wastewater operators. Wastewater agencies. There are private sector wastewater operators for wastewater. Cal Water, I know they're not going to take what they pay their guys. But we need to start comping things with our private sector comparisons. We're overpaying for IT. The SCADA guy maybe specialized enough to where the SCADA stands out because it is something only an archive agency has. I know we're overpaying for engineers. New grad.
Some of the positions, there's nobody else to compare it to.
Well, that's our point. Is a wastewater treatment plant operator, you can only compare to other.
Right, right.
I feel like we're past through several.
Yeah, so I don't want to belabor that point that you just made, Rich, but there's other positions that are comparable to wastewater treatment operator that could be found, but that's another discussion. So if we approve this budget with these positions at these salaries, all we've done is cement in the status quo, so that when the MOUs do come up for negotiation, it makes our position just that much less tractable as far as negotiations are concerned with the people, because, oh, this is what you've been doing. What do you mean you want us to do a cutback? I don't want, and I'll probably be unpopular for this opinion, I don't want our people to think that I'm trying to chisel down their salaries, but the reality is that a safety officer who gets $111,000 doesn't exist out in the private sector, except when you start talking to the super contractors, the Swinnertons, the Turners, the people who have 1,000 and 2,000 employees. Their corporate officers might be getting $125,000 a year. But for somebody who's overseeing 50 employees out of our treatment plant, no, that's not the real world. And if we don't stand and make a stand at some point in time, we're never going to rein in our costs, ever. It's just going to keep going like this. And I love this district. Now that I've been on board, I've made friends. I respect the work that's gone into this budget and the quality of our staff. But folks, you got to get a grip. This is not the real world.
We did try to address some of that in the last budget, and it gets down to what the real world is actually dealing with when it comes to unions right now. Safeway, for instance, cut everybody back to below the whatever 30 hours, and now they don't have to provide them with benefits. And new guys coming in don't get medical. There's just tons of things that the unions in the real world have done to the new people. Because there was no way to deal with the old people. You can't successfully cut someone that's been there without them leaving. It just isn't going to happen. But a new hire, you have a chance. But again, we get back to these need to be changed in the MOU, not in this budget. That's the only way we can change them. So if you're prepared to have that battle in the next 2.5 years, maybe we can propose to them that they look at other comps and see if we can get those things into the MOU, because you have support here. I've said for years that our salaries just don't compare to the real world. And that's why it's so attractive to work for a public agency, because the salaries are outrageous. And as long as they're outrageous, we're going to take the public hit, because they're comparing them to their own salary and saying, God, I don't make that, and I do 10 times that. But again, this isn't the place to do it. So I think the question at the moment is, and I'll put forth a motion, that we approve.
Don't need a motion now.
No,
This is just information.
This is just information.
Well, I realize that. But I can put a motion so they know where to go. Otherwise, they're not going to know where to go. We're just sitting here discussing it, and they still don't know what each one of us thinks, except for maybe Ed and I. They need to know where to go.
I need, we need some clear direction.
Yeah.
However the board arrives at that conclusion, whether it be by motion or by whatever.
Okay.
We need some clear direction.
Let me propose a motion, just so we can get going. We approve the budget as it is. Is there a second?
You're not approving
I'm
this.
sorry.
You're giving direction.
We're,
Present the budget as.
yes, present the budget for approval next month, exactly the way it was presented today.
With some adjustments that we're going to make.
Oh, yes.
Perhaps the motion could be, Georgine, perhaps the motion could be limited to
Just
including the 4 positions that are being presented as
Okay,
FTE.
including the 4 positions.
Yeah, I'll second that. I mean, as long as we're not more than we really want to approve today.
Have a good day today.
We can't approve the budget today
Okay, as long
because
as-
it has to have a public hearing.
as long as we give that direction.
Okay. Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Okay. You have direction.
I believe the motion and the consensus will bring it back as proposed right
Yes.
now for your further discussion and deliberations.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Harry, it's not personal, it's just business.
I understand, thank you.
Yes, it was
Well,
five.
I know that's a full picture.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Are we done? Can we move on to the next? Okay.
Now on to the heart.
Now let's move on to 9B, review of the strategic work plan.
Vice President Von Peter Leopold and members of the board, I was planning to be very brief with this, but in light of the discussion we did have, I will do my brief comments, but then I want to call your attention to one element. My brief comments were that the board, I believe, has essentially settled in on the revised mission statement, vision statement, core values and goals for the district. We had that discussion a number of times over a number of meetings with the board and the committees. I feel very comfortable presenting that to you on the 4th of June. What you have before you is the strategic work plan, which is staff's proposal as to how the tasks we need to do to accomplish the goals that you have. The strategic work plan as staff work really doesn't need the board's approval. The board does not approve the work plan. We use the word endorse because we need resources to accomplish the work plan. Obviously, those resources have to be in the budget, so it would be appropriate to ask for concurrence for those. So that is my segue into the item you just talked about. And I'm probably going to have just a little bit of trouble finding it, but if you bear with me, one of the tasks on the work plan and it is an element 4, I believe, which would be on page...
Successive.
Page 13, no, there's actually, there it is, okay. It's actually on page 14, yeah. Real close. Right at the top, the 2 of the work plan tasks, and this is in support of the goal to recruit and retain a high-performing workplace, and also in support of another goal to refocus on safety, is to fill the safety officer function in fiscal year 14 and fill the operations control system specialist in fiscal year 14. You can see numbers up there that are very comparable, maybe not going to the dollar, but very comparable to the numbers that John just presented to you. We would need direction on these 2 positions, or these 2 tasks in the work plan. If you're not, on June 4th, able to provide the resources to fill those positions, those 2 tasks would then be dropped from the work plan.
Well, I think from our, this, gosh,
And actually, I said 4, there's actually 4 positions.
I don't,
I said
no, there's 4.
Yeah,
Not
the
still,
fold in
yeah,
my
by
paper was
15.
4 positions.
I don't think you got direction from us that we don't want to fill the position.
I understand. I'm just calling it to your attention that the work plan also includes those, so we need to work together, whatever your decision is on the budget with the work plan.
Okay.
so I would think when we do approve, however we approve it, it'll fall out.
Exactly. Well, it'll fall out by association because I won't have the resources
Yeah.
to do what
Yeah, so
I'm asking.
it'll take care of itself in that sense.
I reviewed every line of work plan, that's satisfied.
Yeah, I am too. The only thing I was just curious about kind of the coordination of this leasing property. What we're gonna do with that. I mean, there's
There's a couple items in there, which is one is that the good service provider to Camp Parks as they continue to develop on their sites. There's also
That leads to our courtyard, which is now a tenant on Camp Park site, where we're going to move our courtyard to a certain lease the property as well as our option. That was always the option A division. The way we were kicking around two other options, we located the courtyard for us, so it's for a treatment plant, surplus and lease the property at some point. So there's a number of things, it's still in place. Think of that as an asset, that's what we paid for right now. That gives us some options if we don't need it longer.
Okay, yeah, 'cause I noticed you had a number of things kind of key to that. You're going to do some design of that property.
And I think within the time frame of this strategic plan, and given the movement that is actually happening on that Army property, I think we are going to have to make a decision within the time frame of this project. And it always now that they're listed someplace that they're not.
Do we know for sure that there's nothing available at the vehicle numbers like the city has or MC?
You've asked those questions many times, and my memory will not be as good as Dave's on this, so I'm going to put you on the spot.
The answer to that is there's no place available to the city. We've attempted several options, and their plans always go ahead without us. Actually, one potential option that would be kind of interesting is that the school district is looking for a good place for their superintendent's office and everything. This building would kind of be ideal. If they could sell the property where they are now, they're trying to debate that for housing. They might be interested in this property because it fits them, and then we could move everything to the leased property. But with the city, they're moving ahead with building across the street for fire and police safety, and they have no other plans.
What?
84 Lumbers are corporate.
84 Lumber's the corporate yard, but I still haven't been able to get a clear answer as to who actually bought it, MCE or the city.
I'm not sure of that, but in the discussion with city staff, the size doesn't fit, that will not accommodate their needs and our needs.
The city bought it. Right now, the building across the street and 84 Lumber, the project's out on the street to bid to remodel and rebuild everything.
So the city won 84.
Okay.
Yeah, I have all the work plans. Certainly everything, like external affairs and personnel, we vetted that very well. I'm sure you did.
Line by line.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, if there were any other direction, there's a number of things that require some resources, so if there were anything in here that jumped out at you that resource implication, you need to know to adjust the budget, as it's heading to the board review. As close as we can get, it's not a direct.
It's the sense
spreadsheet.
Okay. So, what are we supposed to do here? We're supposed to review
Provide
it?
support. Just provide direction.
Final direction, right? I have my consensus on some sort of sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Subject to those 4 line items.
Right.
Point it out, we'll be able to post it.
Okay, move on to board member items. Pat?
Let's see, since our last meeting, I went to the Aqua conference, although it's been back forever now. I went to the Energy Committee meetings and then some other meetings the next day. At Energy Committee, a little news on the kind of stuff that we're usually interested in, like net metering. That topic didn't come up too much this last time. This last time it was mostly about small hydro, that sort of thing. There's a lot of, they were trying to get some work to the federal government to change some of the rules on small hydro. Turns out, the current regulations, small hydro has the same regulations as built in Hoover Dam. You have to go through a process. And so they're trying to fix that so you can reduce pressure in the conduit, generate electricity without doing. So that was one area of interest. Another one, actually the inland Empire Utility District, I think it's called. They had an interesting presentation. They're kind of taking a shotgun approach to energy generation. They're kind of like trying all sorts of things. But I think they have a lot of land that they can do that. They're doing solar and they're doing fuel cells. They're doing food waste, all these various things. Their approach, particularly on the more risky, financially riskier alternatives, is to just let contractors build the facilities and they distribute by energy at a given price. So they don't take the risk of purchasing this equipment when you find out that you can't operate it at an effective rate. So which would be interesting. Fuel cells, they understand that it's risky, but they're going to let a contractor take the risk. And they've agreed to buy energy that it produces at basically the same rates they're getting now from the Southern California residents. But they're just going to do that just because they think it's the right thing to do. And they expect that if energy costs go in the future, that energy might get hit. And similar approach for the food waste. You know, it's not green waste we have in green cans. It's big waste products making like cheese and all these things. They throw it in these giant bins and produce energy out of that. So yeah, they're kind of pretty interesting conversation. And then there was another session I went to trying to predict energy rates. And well, good luck was their answer. You know, nobody knows what's going to happen in the future with these energy rates. They had projections all over the place. But anyway, other than that, I thought it was really good, worthwhile going up there, even though some of the energy things didn't really apply to us. But it was a good, interesting session.
That's it?
That's it.
Thank you. Rich? I went to the Aqua Conference as well, and I attended several sessions. One was the lunch with Corwin and Bonham. They're moderated by Randy Record and John Coleman, but Charlton and Chuck is now the director of California Department of Fish and Wildlife. And Mark Corwin is the director of California Department of Water Resources, and they're now partnering together to try to take the plan for the Bay Delta plan forward. And they discussed some of the issues around species. They also mentioned the fact that this is not the silver bullet to all of California's water issues, that this is just simply a component that we still need to use water conservation. We need to use all the other groundwater storage, recycled water as components to keep the water flowing in California. So that was good. And I've written a report for you guys, so I will give that to you as well. I also went to the Water District Consolidation, Part 1, nuts and bolts. So that was interesting. That was where it was primarily help from LAFCO. LAFCO is their Rural Water Association, and the Division of Drinking Water and Environment from California Public Health. And so they talked about the different types of consolidations, what you do in consolidations when you're thinking of bringing 2 agencies, 3 agencies together. So I thought it was more of a high level, but it was good. And it talked about contracts, staffing, what you absorb, what kind of contracts, assets, debt, and let's see. And there was also the changing water bond for 2014. And so that was kind of cool because I got to see my old boss, Gary Bro. And he is part of the task force that was put in place to evaluate just what components they need for the water bond to go through. And primarily it's 2.15 billion for local resource development, 3 billion for the Delta ecosystem restoration and watershed management, And then $3 billion for the public or benefits of storage in the form of like matching grants and low interest loans. So what was a really big water bond for 2014 has now been scaled down to pretty much nuts and bolts. So that was interesting. And then I found the vendors. The vendors were really good. HomeServe was there. And the Fitch ratings, the Fitch folks were there, and they actually have a class for public officials. So he's going to send me the information when the classes are available. They're in San Francisco, and they're free. But it's really good as public electeds to understand how bond ratings and how your Fitch ratings are.
You get that, you can send it to us.
Yeah, I'll send it to everybody. I picked up a bunch of educational materials from the Water Education Foundation, and I shared some stuff. There was a translating company that was really good. I gave that to Sue. But there's some great educational materials that I think would be beneficial for our programs, any kind of outreach we do with schools. And the 2013 water tours by Water Education Foundation. So Ed is the new board member. Have you guys all been on those tours? No? Oh, it's great. So they have one for Northern California water. They have one for the Bay Delta. They're 2 to 3 days. And they really give you a whole education on the water industries in those areas. And then there's the Water Smart Conference in October. And let's see, Jerry Brown was there on Wednesday. And on Thursday, the Clare Hill Award went to Contra Costa Water for their expansion of the Los Vaqueros Dam. But what was also exciting was all the other projects that were nominated. So anyway, I will provide my written report to Nancy. And that's it for me. I have a lot of stuff to share, but I'll just do that when I'm ready.
Ed? And I don't have anything either, so the board will be going into closed session for one closed session item that's listed on the agenda, which is consultation with the project security operations manager pursuant to Government Code 54957, threat to public services and facilities. While the board meeting will continue, this broadcast will be stopped at this time because it is anticipated there will be no report from the closed session. If there is a report from the closed session, it will be announced in open session at the end of the board meeting. If you're interested in what report out, if any, was made, you may contact District Secretary Nancy Hatfield during regular district hours for that information. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.